Welcome, everybody. This is Beer Guys Radio. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. We're going to have a beer. Try to cool down. It's hot again. It's hot again here in Atlanta. We had some rain for a long time. I guess about 2 solid weeks. It was gray and at least drizzly, and then some storms thrown in just for good measure. And so we were cooled down to 80 or even in the 70s. But I just saw that where I am, there's a heat advisory tomorrow, and they said heat index potentially of 108 degrees.
Oof.
So
Damn.
looking forward to that.
As a guy who watches the allergies and everything else, the Atlanta Allergy and Asthma has a rating of all the different pollen levels and all the different allergens. Black mold has been off the charts for like a year or like 6 months. And it's because of like the moisture. And apparently I was asking the allergist about it. I guess we don't have like the hot drying off parts that kill off the mold. So it's ridiculously out of control. So if like anybody who's a little bit more inflamed or red or just irritated,
the mold's coming for us.
Yeah, it's just like it's just all over the place in the air because it's just not drying out. It's really bad. I guess it's been bad for like 6 months or something like that. I don't know. I check in occasionally and I notice like it's never going down from extremely bad, So that sucks.
Yeah. What's the level? Still bad, man. Still terrible out there.
You already know what it is.
Yeah. Don't even look. It's just
you
terrible.
Already know. Yep. Well, guys, let's jump right into it. If you got something to say, we'd love it if you dropped it right on there in the comments, and let us know what you're drinking. Let us know what you think of what we're covering here, and if I can find my spot, we are going to rock and roll. Welcome, everyone, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. As always, we're happy to be here, and we're happy to have you with us. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, what's up?
Nothing much, just hanging out, drinking some beers, talking about drinking some beers, and thinking about drinking some beers. What are you doing, Tim?
The trifecta there, right?
Yes.
I'm doing much the same, Brian. Much the same. I've got me a tasty beer here that I poured. So it took us a little while to get on the air, but this had really good head retention for a good few minutes. But then I took a sip and it died down. I wanted to show off to those watching the live stream my heady beer, but I don't have anything to show off anymore. See, it's died down, but still a tasty beverage. Nate, how the heck are you?
Doing well. Started a new job this week, so I got something exciting to say this time.
Good deal.
Yeah,
good deal.
Very
man.
cool.
Awesome.
Inside sales for a company that builds websites, so it's my first tech job.
Okay, it's fun. Brian and I have been playing in that arena for many, many years. So yeah,
you work with the Beer Guys Radio long enough, you just start becoming them. I guess
get into beer and tech and all that stuff. So
you wind up becoming a geek. Yeah.
I got to catch up with the scents and the 10 fish, I guess.
10 fish, pocket knives, and colognes, and you'll be perfectly set there. That's for sure. So, well, Brian, we had a little fun this week. A friend of the show, we've been friends for a long, long time with our buddy Seth. Came through, but Seth is also one of our Patreon supporters. So thanks, Seth, for supporting the show. But he came through from Houston, Texas, and we did the beer scene in Decatur, Georgia, kind of Decatur, Avondale Estates there. So we went to Brick Store Pub, which anybody who's been listening to the show for a while knows we love that joint. So they are one of a few locations that are Cask Mark certified. And if you are a Cask L aficionado, you probably know what that is. But it just essentially means that they take care of cask beer properly. They serve it at the proper temperature. They keep it fresh. They do the thing there that they're supposed to do to make sure when you get a Cask L that it's what Cask L is supposed to be. And they had a special where Sierra Nevada had put on 4 of their pale ales with different hops that on cask. So we did that, had some grub there, went to a place called My Parents' Basement, beer bar, pinball place, played that. And then to Inner Voice Brewing, which they are, they do all styles well, Brian. I'd say. I think they're getting known for their hazy IPAs. I think is probably the standout stuff that they've got there, or the most talked about, but really everything they've got on is pretty solid. And they also have a partner inside the brewery, a pizzeria called Glide Pizza, that is probably some of the best in the city, New York style. So if you dig that style of pizza, then it's really good. But Seth also brought us a lot of tasty beers from Houston, from Texas, and we're dipping into. I think that's a good time, Brian. We'll talk about our beers of the week right now, because I think both you and I are sipping some of Seth's gifts. So what are you drinking on this week?
I started off a pregame with Monday night's 404 lager, the American Light Lager, 4.04%. So they
4.04.
really
Yeah.
nailed that.
All right.
But yeah, like you said, right now I'm drinking Spindle Tap's 5% Tint, which is a 5% session IPA, and it's good. It says session IPA. It doesn't say anything about hazy, but it is quite hazy. In fact,
yeah.
And I'm going to follow that up with another beer that he brought. And I'm really excited about this because I've never had a Martin House beer before. But Martin House's The Silk Road, which is a New England style DIPA with
Okay.
Azaka Galaxy and Nelson Sauvin. And I guess it's DIPA seems possibly light because I think it's like a 10%er. So that's a good one. Yeah, Tippa or whatever,
Tippa, HIPAA,
Yeah.
all that.
So that's what I'm getting into. How about you, Tim?
Brian, I am in a Lone Pint Yellow Rose IPA, and this beer's been around for a good minute, but it's still, classically good. It's a smash beer, and for those that don't know what a smash is, that is single malt and single hop. So they only use one malt, one hop, which is not that common in beers. They like to mix them up, get a few hops in there, but this one uses Pilsner malt with Mosaic hops, and that's it. And very crisp, very clean, nice grapefruit note that I get in there. You know how I am, Brian, with West Coast IPAs, with bitter IPAs. This one hits the sweet spot. There's some bitterness in there to balance against, the malt sweetness. And actually, now that I mentioned it, there is a decent amount of malt sweetness for it being Pilsner malt there. And but with the hops in there, it's definitely balanced out. So tasty beer here with this Lone Pint.
Very nice, very nice. And of course, Mo Mike Nate, what are you drinking on?
So I'm actually going the way of Tim and only having one beer as my beer of the week. This week I am drinking from Variant Brewing out of Roswell, Georgia, Max, which is a rye barrel-aged barley wine conditioned on Tahitian vanilla beans, and this is very tasty. So I'm gonna resist all show.
Now, I don't know if I cut you off there, Tim. Were you about to get into the scent of the day?
I wasn't, but Brian, since you asked,
I figured it was coming sooner or later. So we might as well just peel off the Band-Aid and
we're
get right
going
into
to
it.
share some of our fragrances because Brian and I have been dabbling lately. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. But today, Brian, thanks for asking. I'm wearing Toomey Atlas. And Nate, I know what you're thinking when I say that. You're thinking, Toomey, isn't that the luggage company? And
exactly.
Nate, very good. Yes, they are known mostly for their luggage, their handbags, computer bags, wallets, and all that stuff. But they also have a fragrance line. So, so surprise, head blown there, mind blown, Nate. But Toomey Atlas, dominant notes in this are bergamot, citrus, ginger, vetiver. So bergamot's kind of a spicy citrus scent in there. So you're going to get your citrus, little spice from the ginger, vetiver. And Brian, this has both Haitian and Java vetiver in it. So
Javanese,
mixing it up. It's not a smash cologne here. They're mixing things up. But yeah, you know what? I like this one a lot. Very clean smell, very fresh. It doesn't project too far. So, it's not going to it's not going to offend people in the next room, but it has a good longevity. So if you put it on in the morning, it's going to hang with you for a while. So you're smelling nice all day. Price isn't bad either. I think retail on it's like $125, but you can find it on a lot of reputable gray market sites for $75 or so. So, Brian, what are you wearing this week?
I like that scent. I've also had
it's
it.
Nice. Yeah.
I decided to mix it up. I have a little decant of Mancera Paris, I think is the actual name of the maker. And it's red tobacco. And I found out about this by Googling what scent lasts the longest, because I've always had an issue with cologne where it's just nothing seems to last on me. So I figured out some of that was on me, but some of it was probably on what I was picking. But red tobacco. And the notes that I get off it, it's like big, sweet, syrupy cinnamon and wood, and it's some smoky and tobacco-y. I mean, it's red tobacco. Of course, there's going to be some tobacco in it, and that's part of the reason I'm attracted to it. I think there are some undernotes of vanilla, which I know that when I tried it on when we were hanging out, it's like immediately you got the vanilla. I don't get the vanilla right away. It comes in later, and there's like a little hint of flowers. I'm trying to remember. I think it was jasmine or something like that. I'm not good at picking out the different flowers. I know there's a floral component in there. I'm not 100% sure which one it is, but it's a very light one. But this is one that lasts like forever. I think it projects reasonably well, but it'll last overnight. You'll smell it in your clothing the next day. You might smell it. You might smell a little bit of it if you don't shower the whole rest of the day. So
it'll hang on.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's not for everybody. I think it's a bit polarizing, but it's worth checking out. Yeah.
Did Mrs. Bryan like it?
I haven't run that past her yet.
Haven't checked.
Our paths have not crossed since I applied it, so I put it on shortly before the show. In fact, so
I feel like you're more likely to know if she doesn't like a fragrance than if she does. I feel like she'd be more apt to tell you, "Ooh, what are you wearing? I don't like that," than to comment, "Oh, that's nice." So.
Yeah, I already know she's not a big fan of Creed Aventus or
Sad.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm surprised. That's a fantastic aroma. Nearly wore it today, but I remembered I had that little bit of red tobacco, and I'm like, that needs another round. So
give it a shot.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm likely to get more of that. I think it's I see it. I think it runs at around $100 for like a 3 to 4 ounce bottle, something like that. I'm not 100% sure on the pricing, so not a full proper review, but hey, if you like tobacco, you like smoke, you like
Cliff's
cinnamon,
Notes version.
Yeah, you like vanilla. It's good. It's good. Should get it.
Nate, you got a scent to share this week, man?
No, I'm just wearing
Irish
my Old
Spring?
Spice classic.
Good old.
Just wearing
Old
Old Spice Classic today, so just the classic
Okay.
scents that
one of the OGs there. Good stuff, man.
I think it was Seth that was into Dr. Squatch. He claims that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he said he'd got some of those.
Yeah.
Party Night's into that as well.
Okay.
Oh, it's Party Nate. Maybe it's Party
Yeah.
Nate, not Seth. Yeah, that's probably right.
The Dr. Squatch fragrances. I got some of his soaps one time, and they were good. I didn't see anything worth paying their prices for them and like having to order them and get them delivered and all that. I didn't find it, but whatever, to each their own. Yeah. And you know what? Back to beer. The Oktoberfest are out in full force. I think everybody's put one out. Seasonal creep just keeps creeping more and more and more. We're already seeing one of our school districts went back to school this week in July. Went back to school. I think I've mentioned here on the show before, I've got an Amazon Echo Show on my desk here in front of me that's got the screen. And so it rotates things. Just before we went on the air, it said popular recipe Christmas crudités.
What?
And it was already giving me. So just make a note of that.
Nope.
July has been this show release. We're recording this in July. It'll be early August when it goes out on the podcast. But already in July, I'm getting ads for Christmas recipes there.
I did see somebody do an advertisement for something about a beer box, an advent calendar beer box for Christmas in July. And I'm like, we're recording this on the very last day of July. It's a little late for that. That's like that.
Yeah.
That era
for Christmas. Christmas in July, you're late. Christmas, you're too early.
Way
you're
early.
Too early.
Yeah,
you're
way
too early there. But everybody starts this time of year, Brian, talking about summer's almost over, back to school party, this and that. Y'all, we have got, 50 days or more of summer left. We've got, it doesn't end until the tail end of September. So, I'm actually, my birthday is the first day of autumn. So I know very well when summer ends. But
I did the math. 50 when this show airs, it will be 50 days exactly left to summer, and it will be roughly 53% of summer will be left, more than half. So people can knock it off with the summer's almost over. It ain't.
So let me ask you this, guys. Is there any seasonal creep that you allow? Because I'll start us off here. Like holiday beers, I don't get mad when they be creeping with those. So when they start talking about the Christmas ales and all of that, I'm a little more lenient with those, but I still don't want them in, July or September. At least let us get into fall. I guess when it starts cooling down. When it starts cooling down, and to be honest, I kind of figure Oktoberfest that way too. If we're getting into September and that's unless you live in Atlanta, that's starting to get into the cooler months. But is there anything else that you're okay with creeping up on us there, Nate? How about you?
I would be okay if cooler weather would have some seasonal
A
creep.
little see, yeah, no doubt. 108, Nate,
But
108.
but on a more realistic note, when I start seeing the pre-batched bottles of eggnog, like from Evan Williams
Okay,
or
all right.
Pennsylvania Dutch, like when I start seeing that, I'm like, okay, cool. We're getting into the colder time of the year. Things are going to get a little bit stressful, but it's socially acceptable to drink a little bit more this time of year
Okay.
too.
See, I don't mind those certain harbingers of fall and that when they're time appropriate. Oktoberfest get it started too early. They
Hmm.
started too early, and I know people, like you said, the eggnog start coming in. I know, Brian, I know you're a big football fan, so football season coming up, NFL kicking off, college game day. People lose their minds for that. And a lot of it is not just the football, but the tailgates, the drinking, the eating, the whole thing that goes along with it. But Brian, you got any creep that you're okay with?
I'd be fine. I'd be fine with the concept of the Thanksgiving meal creeping right throughout the rest of the year because
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
always down to eat a bunch of turkey and some gravy and some stuffing. That doesn't have to wait. I mean, I get why you wouldn't necessarily want to eat it al fresco when it's 110 degrees outside, but we've got air conditioning. I love that stuff all
Right.
the time. I am down for a turkey dinner or a ham or whatever any time of the year. That you can throw that down anytime. I probably when it comes to the cranberry sauce, maybe I'm not ready for that just yet. But everything else leading up to it, no pumpkin pie. We don't need to go there. We can just have the other stuff that's really, really good. The green bean
Turkey and
casserole and
dressing
all
and
that.
green beans and that.
Yeah.
But Brian, it's a little blasphemous to have all that and not have some cranberry jelly. The
All
stuff
right,
in a
fine.
can that you plop out and it's got the lines on it.
I'll
That's the
allow it.
proper one.
And
Okay,
I've
that's good.
I many years ago I worked at a little when I was in school. I had worked at a place that had a sandwich that was like turkey and cranberry sauce. It was like
Oh
all
yeah,
year round, so it
nice.
wasn't
Yeah,
even. And like
Yeah.
I'm not usually into that too much until the cooler months, like that time of the year. But I don't have a problem with that. It's fine if it's going to be on the table. But yeah, the pumpkin beers. I don't need a pumpkin pie yet. No, too early for that. And
too soon, too soon.
I don't know what I think about eggnog. I mean, no, I mean, I can't really drink it anyway, but it's
Oh
too
yeah,
early. I really
yeah.
want that to be end of the year type of stuff. But
We got a buddy whose wife is Puerto Rican, and most years that she makes a big batch of coquito, which is
Mm.
Nate. Do you know coquito? I know
I
you know
used to
your.
know what it is.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would say that's like the Puerto Rican equivalent to like our eggnog, and I'm not sure what all goes in it,
yeah.
but I know it's delicious. So uh, I usually get a mason jar full of that with a neat little ribbon on it, so that can creep around too as well.
yeah,
So
I'm fine with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Joe, if coquito wants to creep, we're not going to argue with that. And I think every holiday I say the same thing, Brian. It's like, oh gosh, we should do this, throughout the year, at least one more time, get together and roast some turkey, have some ham, dressing, green bean casserole, all that stuff.
And
Nate,
all
you're
the
not a fan of all that, are you? I think I
Not a
remember you
fan of
saying.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
crazy.
I'll hang out for the Friendsgiving that we're doing throughout the year.
Sure, sure, yeah.
I'll make
And
the
again,
coquito.
those holiday beers that always go nice with a Thanksgiving dinner.
Mhm.
Yeah, a beer with the right kind of spices in it, I might be all right with that. As long as I was eating all the rest of the stuff. You need something. It's something that's going to handle that large, heavy food. So if you were getting into Thanksgiving in say August, we could make this a thing. Thanksgiving in August,
Thanksgiving in August,
then
yeah.
maybe a beer with some spices in it. It might make some sense. Yeah.
See, if they're doing Christmas in July, then I guess technically we should have Thanksgiving in June.
Oh yeah,
If we
probably.
wanna, but, the seasons creep all over. We can do it. We can have Thanksgiving after Christmas. I actually think that may be more appropriate if we're doing something intentionally to creep the seasons.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
but June would be isn't that about equidistant from Thanksgiving? You're about splitting the year there?
I
If
think
we
so.
go August, we're coming up on there. But anyhow, it would be fun. Good food, good drink, always a good time. And Thanksgiving is a good time. You start off with your little finger foods, so you can have a saison, a pilsner, whatever. And then if you do break out the pie, that's the pastry stouts and the rich
Mhm.
barley wines and all that go with it. So it's definitely a meal to drink a big variety of beers too.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Now, Brian, we had talked about, I think we talked about it with a few people, this Fonio grain, this African grain Fonio. And there was actually some interesting news that came out this week, actually. We talked about Brooklyn Brewery before and brewing the Fonio beer, but a little bigger news on that. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so Carlsberg and Brooklyn Brewery are collaborating on 100% Fonio beer. This just got announced, like you said, this week. Appropriately, they're calling the collaboration beer Fonio. So, it's very clear what it is. Not only is the beer made with 100% Fonio grain, it also doesn't use any bittering hops, which is interesting. They pointed that out as kind of a big point of it. So, I wonder about that because Fonio. Well, you know what? Let me get to the rest of it. And we can discuss. So the attraction to the Fonio grain is because it is widely used in African cooking. It can thrive in poor soil and is drought resistant. Of course, this all began with, like you said, Brooklyn's brewmaster Garrett Oliver approaching Carlsberg to see what they could do with the Fonio grain because he's been promoting Fonio for years as part of the brewery's Brewing for Impact campaign. The beer, unfortunately, is a limited edition, and it was brewed at Carlsberg's research laboratory. So if you want one, you will have to go to Carlsberg's Copenhagen location starting sometime in August. Reportedly, it's a clean tasting beer with soft aromas of apricots, white peaches, and melon with an underlying sweetness and lingering bitterness. I think my favorite thing about this beer is the bottle, aside from kind of the intrigue of using the Fonio grain is 100%. It's a green 750 milliliter bottle that's corked and caged, so it looks every bit of a special limited edition beer release. So it's got the theatrics. It looks great. I would like to have one. I'd like to drink one, but I think it's cool. And what I was saying earlier about the not using bittering hops, I wonder if that's for the same sustainable reasons as you would use Fonio, because hops require a lot of water. They're not very drought resistant. So,
Could be. Now,
yeah.
doesn't the bittering hops, when they isomerize them, isn't that what helps with like shelf stability and longevity there? So maybe this is
Yeah.
one that you gotta drink it soon. But also being in green bottles, the green glass does let through more of the light that causes
Mhm.
light struck or skunking. And we
True.
we did an experiment in the past where we did a saison, and we bottled some in brown bottles and some in green bottles and let them kind of not like setting them outside in the sun, but put them on a shelf that had some sunlight to it. And definitely noticeable after about 6 months, considerably. Nate, were you over here for the tasting on that when we did this? I'm not
No,
sure. I think that may have been kind of before your time, but
I've never been to your
uh,
house before, so no.
okay. We blind tasted with our homebrew club, and everybody preferred the green bottle beer. It was more complex, more depth. So, you know, skunking is such a bad term. It's not always a bad thing, depending on the beer you've got. It can bring some complexity to it. If you're drinking a Budweiser, you don't want those skunky notes in there. But some of the more complex Belgian beers, it doesn't necessarily bring skunk as much as just a complexity to it.
I wonder how much of it they're going to get because now that we talked about there not being any bittering hops in there, I think the compounds from those hops is what is
Yeah,
interacted with
that was
by the light. So that won't be there to do what it does. But if there's any kind of like dry hopping or flavor and aroma hops added, it would probably mess with those. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
kind
I
of
don't
went
know how
off on a
much.
tangent, but that was my point. If they don't have
Yeah,
bittering hops and it's in green glass, that may not, it may not be that susceptible to being light struck.
probably not.
Now we got to go to Copenhagen and find out, Brian. We have
Probably,
to go over
yes.
there and explore it. But I'm interested in trying that. So I wouldn't mind seeing. And I think, was it Dan Coppin was on with us that said the grain that pretty much is going to be used in Africa. It's not something that
Yeah.
they're going to send the grain around or grow on it. It's more using it where it is, kind of thing.
I think so. And well, here's the thing: the more people use it, the more it promotes that is a source of income for people who grow it already. So I think the hope is that at some point there would be enough production of the grain that they could maybe export it. But the infrastructure, I think, based on several different stories and several different shows we've done, I think the infrastructure isn't there to support Fonio as like a major thing like that. So
do you happen to know, Brian, I'm asking you a question that you necessarily would not have looked into, but do you know how efficient the grain is, like converting sugars in that? Is it one that it would make sense to export it to other places for brewing purposes, or is it one that just makes sense to use it where it is?
I'm not.
It's okay to say you don't
sure.
know.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I don't
that's
know.
Fine.
I think it's a good performer, but I don't think it's as good as barley.
Interesting. We'll have to check that out.
I'm not 100% sure on that. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's like, I mean, some of the grains that they use for gluten-free beers, they definitely don't, bring the same amount of sugars and such as barley does. But again, they don't have the gluten there. So it opens it up for the people who cannot consume gluten. Interesting stuff, man. We'll keep an eye to see what's going on with that. And Brian, moving along, Tilray, that their first acquisition, I forget the name of the company before, but that bought Afria. So Afria bought Sweetwater. Tilray ended up buying that company, and then Tilray bought a bunch more breweries, and it sounds like it's working out for them, right?
Yeah, so it's been like a year since Tilray bought a bunch of beer brands from AB InBev, and this is after the whole Sweetwater acquisition beforehand you were mentioning. And it seems that the craft beer gamble that they've made has actually paid off for them. And I wasn't sure what to make of this because it's been rough for the beer industry lately. So this week, Tilray reported better than expected quarterly sales and hiked its fiscal 2025 profit estimate past analyst expectations. And understandably, the shares following that jumped by 10% on the news. The company's total quarterly revenue, which includes sales of cannabis, beverages, and wellness products, rose 25% to $229.9 million. Much of that growth was driven by the beverage alcohol gross profit increase of 146%. So I think I read that the lion's share of the money they're bringing in now is beer, basically, with everything else they do. So they're like, what was a cannabis company and now they're a beer company, basically.
That's interesting, man. Because to be honest, there's not a lot of companies that are saying that, beer is their driver right now. Even ones that's all they do is beer. That's not their driver. We just heard recently another brewery here in Georgia, Eventide Brewing, is closing August 11th. It's I don't think they're being out in the open with it a lot. They don't want to make a big a lot of noise over it, but we've heard through various employees and stuff that they're closing. It's hitting a lot of people. One of their neighbors, Elsewhere Brewing, had said the same thing. They've got their slogan is survive till 2025. So
oh wow,
it's but interesting twist here, Brian. I saw it was a teaser tweet, nothing more to it than that. But Half Acre Beer Company announced that they've got a collaboration coming up with the way they put it was dispensary products with a cannabis company, and it got me to thinking. I wonder how many of these craft breweries will cross the streams there, so to speak. As of now, we know that you can't put it in an alcohol-based beverage, but if these folks are already making beverages, it's not like it would be, that big of a jump to make a cannabinoided and all, whatever the word is, THC or CBD beverage. And if people are starting to choose that over beer sometimes, then seems like it would be a good angle, for them to go into. And also related to the Tilray, Sweetwater purchased and opened a brewery in Fort Collins, Colorado after the acquisition, and they just announced that they're closing, but another Tilray brand, Nate, do you remember which one it is moving into that Fort
Breckenridge Brewing Company?
So Breckenridge is moving in there, and it's a pretty quick turnaround. I forget the exact dates, but since they're both falling under Tilray, it's not like it's going to take that long for them to do that. But it's becoming Breckenridge over Sweetwater there. In all honesty, they probably can just change out signage, because since they're all under the same company, they can have whatever, on tap. And Breckenridge has, I would bet that Breckenridge probably has more pull with the locals to get people in the brewery than Sweetwater does. So that I would imagine that's part of the decision.
one of the things about this beer really paying off for them, we have to remember that when they bought these properties, like these 10 different breweries from AB InBev, they got them for a song, didn't they? Like I
Like
forget the exact number.
$40 each or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think it was like a total of $80 million for all of them, or I don't know. It was a very ridiculously sounding, based on what we've heard before from breweries being sold, like ridiculously small amount of money. So they
Yeah.
turned around and they, you know, streamlined it all and got the beer going all over the place. And yeah, it's, man, if you get something for basically a steal, it's not hard to make a little bit of money. Now, if you had been there the
Yeah.
whole time trying to make a go of it, then it's a different story. So
She got the full money dropped into it there, right?
yeah, exactly. And I also kind of wonder
Ballast point.
if the laws will allow a brewery to sell both products, like, and make and sell under the same like licenses or under the same businesses. Because I think that the one thing that's going to happen once all this becomes legal is they may require people to get like form different companies or have completely closed off dispensary secondary things. And it's going to be like they do in Georgia, where they technically have walls, but it's kind of the same thing. But yeah,
I think the point you're trying to make here is that they're making their way the only way that they know how, but it's possible that may be a little bit more than the law will allow.
That does sound right. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck to them. And I think
they mean no harm, Tim. They're just good old boys.
Yeah. Just making their way. And the thing is, I believe a lot of this stuff does have to be sold through dispensaries right now.
Yeah.
So, it's maybe they'll have to create a separate business unit or, do something or create a separate company underneath it. But, it's not like, at least not now, they're not going to be throwing them on tap in the tap room.
Yeah, unfortunately, you won't be having them side by side in the tap room. That's kind of what I was thinking, and that would be the ideal situation for the breweries to appeal to the most people, get people in there trying whatever they want. But
yeah,
I just think the regulations won't allow them to do that.
Nah, it'll be a while. It'll be, especially down where we are. It's not gonna come anytime soon. But Brian, I think it's time for us to thank our fantastic, awesome, and great sponsors of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Definitely want to start with thanking our friends at Terrapin Brewery Atlanta. We've enjoyed seeing them grow up here as part of the Georgia beer scene, and everything that they're offering in the Atlanta tap room, as we've mentioned many times before, is kind of the testing grounds, if you will. It's I don't want to say minor leagues. That sounds bad, but it's the minor leagues for them, where they test out their beers in a major league stadium before they go up to the bigs, Brian, before they go up to the show. So it gives you a great chance to try some of the stuff that you may see in larger distribution. If you like it there, keep an eye out for it. Let them know. Tell them, hey, I really dig this beer. I love this beer. I'd love to grab a 12-pack of it and, keep it in the cooler in the backyard sometimes, Brian. So, we're getting into the tail end. The summer's almost over, Brian, like we were talking about. So baseball season, we'll be wrapping up. Actually, baseball season, I think we got about a month left before we get, into postseason stuff there. But go catch a Braves game. Grab a beer, grab some barbecue from Fox Brothers there in the Terrapin Tap Room. Try out any of the new stuff that they have on tap, and be sure to tell them the Beer Guy sent you. So thank you to our friends at Terrapin Brewery Atlanta for sponsoring the show.
Yep. And so another show means another week has gone by, and that also means we have a whole new selection of the finest craft beer available at your local Truck and Tap. That's right. I'm talking about Truck and Tap now. As is tradition, I have checked all the beer lists at truckandtap.com, and there are multiples. And here are my picks. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm getting a pour of Monday Night's 404 Lager, because this weekend is Monday Night's anniversary party, and you can't go wrong with a well-made lager. And I had one before the show, in fact. Over at the Duluth location, I'm going to try Wild Leap's Full Circle, which is a dry finishing coconut porter with an ABV that isn't too high. So not too high, but not too low either. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, I won't be able to pass up Green Bench's Pol Denise. I'm not 100% sure how to say the name, but it's on their side pull tap, which is great that they have those. It's a triple decocted lager with Moravian barley and Saaz hops. I can't say any of that stuff.
I don't know if you need to drink this beer, Brian. You're already slurring your speech pretty bad there, buddy. So
Moravian hops. Oh no, Moravian barley and Saaz hops. It sounds fancy, and I'm sure it's fantastic. At the Lawrenceville location, my pick is Fontaflora's tip of the Vibers with a B. It's an Appalachian wild ale with Merlot grapes. And speaking of grapes, don't forget that there are other drink options at Truck and Tap, like wine and spirits, in case you feel like mixing it up. Or if you just want to see what's in store for you at Truck and Tap, just go check out their website or at truckandtap.com, or you can swing by and just find out when you get there. You do you. And thank you to Truck and Tap. Yeah, do your thing. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Always awesome, man. They've been with us since day one here at the Beer Guys, right? Before day one, actually. So we've seen them grow up from their first location to just spreading out all over the Atlanta metro. So it's been a really good time partnering with them over the years, for sure.
We were buying homebrew gear from them even before it was they were
actually
back
when they were a homebrew shop.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
They started that. Zach started as Barrel and Barley.
Yeah.
Which was a growler shop. And this was when growler shops were in vogue. It was really cool to have a growler shop for the 1 year that was a cool thing, basically. Yeah. But growler and homebrew. So we did buy a lot of homebrew stuff from him, and we filled growlers because that is what people did back then.
It was. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
They had a good bottle shop in there too. So they had some
good
selection.
It was a good time.
Nice.
I mean, I always liked them for sure. And Brian, now just before our sponsor break there, we were mentioning that Tilray made a bet on beer and it's paid off. But on the flip side of that, Diageo had a rough year, but Guinness in its own has done really well.
Yeah. Another. This is an interesting story. So we learned that Diageo, the world's biggest premium alcohol group, I didn't realize that, but they saw their profits fall by 4.8%. The drop is due in large part to a disastrous 21% decline in Latin America and the Caribbean market. Rising prices and inflation have had customers in that region trading down for less expensive beverages that are apparently not owned by Diageo. So also their tequila brands have dropped 3% in the North American market over the past year. So the bright spot in their portfolio is Guinness, because you can't stop Guinness. It had a net sales growth of 4%, and it makes up 19% of Diageo's business. And reportedly, they can't make enough Guinness 0.0 to meet demand. That's the non-alcoholic stuff. It's flying off shelves, and that was
crazy.
Quoted from an inside source. They just can't make enough non-alcoholic Guinness. So they're killing it there. Everything else is not doing so hot, but Guinness is killing it.
Go Guinness, go. You know, I noticed when we were at Brick Store Pub this weekend that the guy sitting at the table right across from me, he was drinking an Athletic beer. You know, we're at the beer bar, in Atlanta, and someone's sipping their Athletic, which I mean is cool. You know, it lets you go out. Maybe you don't want to, whatever your reason may be. There's options now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had no idea they had it there until I saw that guy get it at the table. So pretty cool.
Very neat. Very neat. So now, Brian, I think you said that Guinness, you like the 0.0.
I do,
right?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it is, as we've discussed previously, there is notable differences in terms of flavor, but I think it is a good non-alcoholic dry Irish stout. So worth drinking if you're looking for a good option. Easy pick. Absolutely get that.
Yeah. See, like I said, I think for me, I think it's far enough off the actual Guinness. It doesn't quite hit for me. I don't think it's bad, but I'm like, nah, this actually more so than some other beers. I'm like, nah, this isn't Guinness, and like the Heineken 0.0, that's definitely one that I'm like, if you like Heineken, you're going to like this, but there's something with the Guinness that it's enough that it doesn't do it for me, Brian.
It does scratch the same itch for me, but I will acknowledge
it does to it for a lot.
There are definitely differences. Yeah.
I get that. Oh man, I'm forgetting the name. The peanut butter stout, or the peanut butter dark that we like. Partake
from Athletic.
Is it? No, it's not Athletic. It's a different one. So.
The peanut butter stout.
Bravus.
Yeah,
Bravus. That's a good one, and that one's
really good.
That one will almost fool you there. Pretty solid stuff.
I am still looking for Black Butte Porter, the non-alcoholic version.
Yeah,
and I think they use that special system that allows you to select how much ABV you want, how much alcohol you want in it, so they can produce the beer the same way and just turn the dial to 0.
I was going to say, for those that can't see, Brian's just turning knobs over here, like you just dial your beer in and go for it. That's Just do that. And then he did a slot machine thing. Let's roll it. He's now a
You know,
cowboy. He's
that's
throwing a
right.
lasso.
Yeah.
There's no telling. But this is, I'm making this. He's doing the, what's that called? The
sprinkler?
sprinkler. The sprinkler. Man, we're just doing it all up over here today for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the black. Have you seen it? Have you seen that it's came to Georgia at all?
Deschutes shows up here, but I haven't seen that specifically
That
is
one
in
does?
town. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I guess I should. I think Untap lets you look for it locally, and I think at
Mhm.
one point in time I did, and it was like it found nothing within 100 miles. I love
Okay.
that feature of
All
Untap.
right.
That's possibly the most valuable feature it's got. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't seen it. I haven't checked recently. I hope it makes it out here, but if it's as popular as non-alcoholic Guinness, I mean, they may not be able to get it out here. It may be flying off the shelves over there in Oregon, the Northwest.
Deschutes, do they do other NA beers? Like didn't they do Mirror Pond or one of their IPAs or something?
I want to say they added one recently, and I don't remember.
Have you
what
tried
it was.
any of the Deschutes NA beers?
I've never seen them before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to try some of the ones because I think Untitled Art, I tried a couple of theirs. But there are folks saying that breweries like the Sierra Nevada and the Deschutes and that it is taking the NA to a different level than the other brands have been out there. But I can't validate that on my own. Nate, Brian, have either of you tried any from Sierra Nevada or Deschutes that you might be able to chime in on?
I haven't
had
had the
their
Sierra Nevada.
IPA. I had the Sierra Nevada IPA, and I thought it was I thought it was good enough. I won't say that it was like above and beyond what the Athletic IPAs that I've had or the Bravos
Gotcha.
IPAs,
Okay.
but the Untitled Arts, I've definitely had a number of those, and I thoroughly enjoyed them.
Interesting.
So Sam
Interesting
Adams,
stuff.
just the haze, which is
Yeah.
hazy and non-alcoholic. That's a really good beer too. I mean, I might be tricked by that one if I were to drink it. So that one's extremely well done. It's non-alcoholic. It's 0.5%. So it's not the same as 0.0, which I think is completely alcohol free. So
right. Yeah, we've got Dusty Bryan here commenting on our Instagram feed, said he's been trying some of the NA beers and he said they aren't half bad. He mentioned like Coors Edge. He said it's pretty close to Coors Light. And I've noticed that with a lot of the macro beers that their NA versions are pretty darn close to the regular stuff. I haven't tried the Bud Zero, but I know those that have said, hey, this is a Bud beer. This is a Bud Light. Brian, you the Bitburger. Brian's got the Bitburger there.
Germans know what's up with the non-alcoholic stuff. This is quality too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And old Dusty Bryan here also said he tried the Sierra Nevada Trail Pass Golden, and he said to him it tasted more like a seltzer than a beer.
Interesting.
Wasn't quite on point there, but interesting. I still, when we first started talking about NA beers, we got some grief from people. A couple of angry emails that beer guys were talking about NA beers, but I think it's interesting to see what's coming up out there, and I still enjoy trying them out. Like I said, the doctor's orders segment, I don't have to quit drinking, but I got to chill out some. So being able to have an NA beer when I want to have one, but I don't need to have any more alcohol is a pretty nice option there.
Yeah. And it's just not, it's not cool to drink most places at lunch. So if grabbing a non-alcoholic beer at lunch with your sandwich or whatever, I mean, it kind of feels like cheating. It's a good time. I mean, I kind of
it's
that.
like
when
I
I have one available. Yeah,
I know it's fine. I mean, you could drive around in the car technically, and say you better go with the 0.0 just to be safe there, rather than the 0.5%. But so Tyler chimed in here and he said the Trailhead from Sierra Nevada is good in his opinion. He liked it. He gives it 87 out of 100. So just like anything, just like beers or anything else, everybody has their own opinion and what hits their palate. So if you're interested, you try it. Don't take our word for it. You try it.
It's interesting how much excitement there is around non-alcoholic beers, even with the people watching the show. Like we went from people being angry that we'd even dare to mention it. Now people are like, "Oh, I tried that. That was really good. You should try it too."
I think at the beginning, a lot of it was probably what people knew NA beers used to be. Like we talked about O'Doul's and Sharps and all that. They were just they aren't good. Weren't or aren't. I haven't tried any recently, but if you mention NA beer and that's all you know of it, it's kind of like introducing someone to craft beer. And if you give them anything that doesn't taste like a Bud Heavy or a Bud Light, they're like, that's I don't like beer. I don't like beer, because that's what they're thinking it is that is beer, and that's only beer. But that's not the case, Brian, if you weren't aware.
It is not. And I
Ah.
just looking at the comments, I definitely need to try a little non-alcoholic Peroni, because I like Peroni too, and I
Okay.
see that's a thing as well. So
Little
yeah.
Peroni. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff. Brian, another story to share, more interesting stuff. There's a brewery that offered free beer in exchange for a tattoo. And I didn't read into it, whether it's you get the tattoo, we give you free beer, or we'll give you beer if you come give us a tattoo. But apparently this got shot down as a no, that they couldn't do it.
Yeah, the good news is I have those details for you, Tim. So
Good.
to celebrate its 10th anniversary, Steel and Oak Brewery in British Columbia, Canada, was offering a beer in exchange for a tattoo promotion. That is, you pay to get a tattoo, and in exchange, you get beer, a year's worth of beer, which is estimated to be around 156 glasses, worth about 1,200 Canadian dollars, not US dollars. And you had no time limit to drink up. You did have to pick from several designs that they came up with that incorporated the brewery's logo, but you had some choices. The cost of the tattoo was between 100 to 150 Canadian dollars, depending on which you chose. So it works out. I mean, you really you're making out if you like the brewery and you wanted the tattoo. It's a pretty good deal. The problem is the liquor and cannabis regulation branch of British Columbia caught wind of the promotion, and they said no, and they pulled the plug on it. Apparently, you can't promise free beer in exchange for a tattoo in Canada. I kind of wonder, I don't know if the answer to this, but I wonder if you could do something like that here in the U.S.
So is the issue that they were offering free beer for a tattoo, or was the issue more you go buy this thing and we'll give you free beer?
I think it was the latter, but I'm not 100% sure. They did, because it wasn't fully explained as to what the problem was.
Gotcha.
They didn't like it, and I think they were going to find a way to make it not legal.
Because I was going to say, if it was specifically the tattoo, I that would have to be the weirdest reason for a law to exist ever. If they're like, no, we've been through this before. You can't go marking your butt. We're sorry, but you can't do that.
Now I did know you had to put the tattoo on your arm and your leg, and one of the articles, because I looked through a couple of them, you could not get the tattoo on your backside, so that was not allowed. But I think it was the free beer concept over a long period of time, or the volume of beer. It wasn't clear what the actual problem was there.
So they're saying if we're talking 156 glasses is the estimate, then they're saying about 3 beers a week, for a year.
Yeah,
I'm going to say this: tattooing a logo on your body is definitely worth more than 3 beers a week for a year.
Right.
For me, yeah. It's,
but again, you get someone who loves tattoos, who likes the brewery, who wants to, you'd have a story even after the year. You'd have a story to go with it there. So
if it came with a glass that I got to keep and it was actually a solid gold goblet, then we might be talking there. That might be worth it. But
wait, is it a Brewdog solid gold goblet?
No, then we don't have a deal. That's definitely fake.
Air quotes.
Solid.
Crazy stuff, man. Well, that's interesting. That I know that there's been other things that you could do to get you a free beer or what have you, but like I ordered not long ago, or Nate ordered for me. Fishwife did a collaboration with, I don't even remember the brewery now. Keystone?
Natural Light.
Yeah, it's Keystone.
Keystone, right? Yeah. So they did a thing where they did this little tackle box that had 3 tins of smoked trout in it, and they said, quote unquote, free beer, but they couldn't, of course, send you beer. So you got a gift card that you could use for DoorDash to, I think it was just an Amex gift card. You could use it anywhere, but they gave like $25, which I'm assuming is about the price of a case of Keystone, or maybe a 12-pack. I don't know.
Was that how you were supposed to use it? Because I actually tried to use that at a liquor store to buy beer at one point in time. They're like, no, we don't take gift cards. I'm like, it's got an
Amex
American Express on there. We don't take that.
For what it's worth, I also have not been able to get it to work. I've tried it a couple places. So maybe that was the trick, is it's, they told me that, they could not do it. Like they talked about ordering your beer on DoorDash. I actually tried to use it on DoorDash, and it's like, oh, sorry, we can't validate your card. So I don't know.
Did Fishwife brewdog us? Is that what happened?
We got brewdog, man. We got brewdog.
brewdogged.
I have to assume if they said, well, maybe I guess if they don't work, they didn't have to activate it. Maybe they just didn't activate the 25. No, we don't want to slander anybody. We're not talking trash here, but I will say this, because I don't consider this slanderous. The tackle box is trash. I mean, the way the handle's like a twist and pop in thing, and it would be very easy to fall out. I can tell you, if you had legitimately used that for fishing, you would have dumped your tackle all over the place at one point, unquestionably.
Because the lock on it is garbage too. It's like just this little twist tension.
Yeah.
Well, they called it a snackle box, so I think it's meant
Fair.
for charcuterie.
Okay.
So crackers
All
and cuts
right.
of meat.
Right.
The only thing
You're
it's going to be
right.
catching is fat guys at the bottle share. So
don't be calling me out like that, Brian. That's unnecessary. That is unnecessary. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, y'all, that about wraps it up for this week's show. We're gonna have us a good time. We're partying this weekend with our friends at Monday Night Brewing, so we're looking forward to that. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening to the show. If you dig what we're doing, please do tell a friend to give the show a listen. If you really like what we're doing, or maybe you like Nate's backwards hat, you love Brian's beard, what have you, support us on Patreon. Help Brian buy beard oil.
Yeah.
To keep his
beard
beard looking good. It's cheap. Come check it out. We'll give you access to our Discord server. We'll give you some other cool perks, and we'll just have a good time hanging out. But as always, y'all, we thank you so very much for joining us. We hope that you have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. We made it. Looks like we made it. Yeah, Dusty Bryan said he's also got doctor's orders there. He said he had to cut back. He's like, so no more breweries 3 to 4 times a week. I know that feeling. Dusty. I know that feeling.
I'm cutting back ahead of time, like a little bit, just in the hopes that I can
You're
prolong.
not. No,
in
you
hopes I can
aren't.
prolong hearing that from the doctor. At some point, I just assume he's like, "How much are you drinking? Like, you need to stop or cut back." I don't want to hear that. Yeah.
I forget what the show's called. It's called like the Detroiters or something like that. I forget, but it's a Tim Robinson show. And it shows, I forget the guy's name that's his partner, but his partner's at the doctor, and the doctor's like, he's like, how much do you drink? And he's like, he's like, I don't know, like maybe 10 or 12. And the doctor's like, okay. He's like, I guess 10 or 12 a week is not too bad. He's like, a week? He's like, are you telling me that you're drinking 10 or 12 beers a day? He's like, we're counting beer too?
Oh, jeez. I feel personally attacked by that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I couldn't even function at that rate. So,
I can't imagine. I mean, just the implications on that comment on that show, man, you'd have to be, I don't know how you could function there. So yeah, we're going to cut off the live stream here before Instagram gives us the kick. Again, y'all, we appreciate you hanging out with us. I think we're back next week. We don't have an event yet, we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Y'all have a good week. We'll see you soon.